Can you change your jewelry yourself? Going to give you 10 things you should think about. Coming up next on Body Piercing Basics, episode number 117, so you might want to stick around. For those who are new to the channel, first off, welcome to the channel. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're finding it entertaining, educational, and all that fun stuff. But you might not know who I am. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio, located right here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So, when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to a level of expertise that comes from me in the body piercing industry for well over 27 years. So what we're going to talk about today is a really common question I get asked a lot in just from clients, also on emails, Messenger, comments on here. Can I change my own jewelry? Can I change it at home? Is it something I definitely have to go back and go back to the studio to have changed? What I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 10 things that you should consider before attempting. And if you can answer these and feel comfortable with it, there's no reason not to change it. I always say, though, when in doubt, go see your piercer. Even if they charge, which I do not understand why they do that, sometimes it's just easier to let them do it and not have to worry about it. So let's start off. Number one, is the piercing fully healed? If the piercing is slightly healed or it's a situation where you're downsizing the jewelry because it's too long and the swelling hasn't happened or the swelling is gone, that I definitely suggest going and seeing your piercer. Anytime you're changing jewelry during the healing process, it's always best to do that. Partly because they're going to have the tools that if something goes wrong or there's a problem to get that jewelry back in for you. Number two, is the piercing season? A lot of people are confused by this. Piercings kind of have about, well, I say 3 stages. First one is that acceptance phase, that first week or two where the body's getting over the trauma and starts to accept the jewelry and then settles into actually healing. The second phase is that production of tissue around the jewelry to build that tunnel to make it no longer an open wound. The third one is seasoning or toughening of the piercing. During this phase, your body produces layer upon layer on top of that initial piercing and starts to kind of loosen up a little bit. This is why when people stretch like a lobe or a fast healing area, they'll often do what's called dry or did stretches where they just put the jewelry in. It's because your body always wants to grow away from that jewelry and get bigger than that jewelry. So if it's well seasoned, especially if you're changing the shape of the jewelry, like you're going from a stud to a ring, it's usually best to wait until that seasoning is over. Now, how long is that going to be? Usually about twice as long as the initial healing period. So if it took 3 months to heal, 6 months after that. And even then, it's going to continue to season over the years. Number 3, if you can't get that jewelry back in or there's a problem, can you get that old jewelry back in without an issue? Meaning, if you're taking a piece of jewelry out of a particular piercing, it's going to be easy for you to reinsert it if you can't get the new jewelry in. This is a problem because especially right after a piercing is healed, it can close extremely rapidly depending on where it's at. So you don't want a situation where you want to put in a new piece of jewelry and you can't get the new one in or get it closed, and then you go back to the other piece and you can't even figure out how to get that back in, and you end up losing the piercing. So it's important to know whether or not you can get the jewelry that's in there currently easily in and out. Number 4, does the jewelry need special tools to take out and put in? This is really common with a lot of different types of jewelry types. Things like threadless jewelry, threaded jewelry, even rings may require things like a guide pin or taper pin to put in and out, especially if it's in areas where you can't really get your fingers in there, like the nostril. With rings, you might need hemostats or pliers or something to bend or expand and contract that jewelry to get that new jewelry in. So whenever you really need to understand how that jewelry works and whether or not specialty tools are needed. If that's the case, you don't have them, you need to go see your piercer and have them change it for you. Next one, number 5, can you easily see the area? Is it in an area where it's going to be difficult for you to find that piercing hole? A lot of things you can do by feel, but occasionally there are things that you really need to see what you're doing, especially when you're threading balls on or putting little threadless pens inside little tiny tubes. It does take a little bit of visualization to know exactly what you're doing. So that's something to consider. Also, you might say, well, I have a mirror. I'm going to use that. It takes a little bit of practice even to use a mirror. Anybody that's ever attempted to do anything like makeup understands this, that everything is backwards. Number 6, can I easily access the area? This goes back to things like nostril piercings. If you're putting in a flat back labrae in your nostril, can you easily find that hole at the inside of your nose and put the jewelry in? Same thing goes for daith piercings. Sometimes they can be hard to find, or forward helixes, or even navel piercings. Is it going to be easy for you to access that area and get your hands and your fingers in there to really handle and control the jewelry? Otherwise, you might need hemostats or something to hold the jewelry properly and move it in that tight spot. Number 7, is there somebody that can help? Time and time again, sometimes just having an extra set of hands around or an extra set of eyes will make the process of changing jewelry a lot less frustrating. If you have a partner or a friend or somebody that can help you out, that can make a huge difference, especially on piercings where you really can't see what you're doing, like your ears. Do consider that. If you have a buddy that's willing to help, put them to work. Number 8, are you drastically changing the shape of the piercing? This primarily works into taking jewelry out that is straight or posts and putting in jewelry that's massively curved, like rings. Unless that piercing is well seasoned and well healed, chances are doing that drastic change in the shape of that piercing could cause issues even a healed piercing. So you should always consider how much you're changing the shape, and it can also make it very difficult to put it in. If you go to a curvature from straight, you suddenly have this thing, especially if it's a really tight curve, where it wants to hook into the inside of the piercing opposed to going all the way out the other side. So always take that into account, and also make sure that it's easy for you to put the other jewelry back in if that jewelry causes problems. Number 9, is the jewelry the correct size? If you are on the fence, you don't understand the sizing or anything or what have you, consult your piercer. You don't want to go with drastic size changes and etc. And you also don't want to spend a lot of money on a piece of jewelry and then find out it's too short and too tight to even get in there. Or it's so short you can't even grip it to actually get the threadless post in or to thread something on there. So make sure you have the correct size jewelry. And the last one, number 10, how clean is that jewelry? Is it sterile? Did it come sterile to you? Did you buy it from someplace that has it loose in a case? Is it in a little plastic container or baggy thing that may or may not have been in a area that ain't so clean and handled by people's hands that aren't so clean? It's a good idea to clean jewelry before you insert it. It really comes down to what you have available. Ideally, you would autoclave and sterilize the jewelry before you put it in, even in a healed piercing, just because there's always that risk that you might just enough break that skin on the inside and then have an exchange of bacteria off of that jewelry and then get an infection. But try to do as best you can. If it involves just cleaning it with some warm water and antibacterial soap, that's better than nothing. Well, I hope you found this helpful, gave you some things to think about, and could help you in the future if you decide to change your jewelry. If you like this, found it informative, found it useful, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it. If you haven't subscribed, why the hell not? Go ahead and hit that subscription and click on that notification bell so that you're notified every single time we post something. Also, check out our merch store. Link is in the description. Lots of different t-shirts, lots of different products, lots of different designs. There's also one of those merch bars down below. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you for watching. Check out this next video.